Hey there! Today I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing this, the PlayGo 3.5-inch handheld retro gaming console. I've been waiting for this for quite a while, but it's finally here. I'll give you a tour of the device, show the onboard software, and of course, install and play some games. So, let's get started. Now, this isn't my first retro gaming console. For a few years I've been playing with this, the BitBoy PocketGo 1. The main feature of this console is that it packs a lot of retro gaming fun in this diminutive package featuring a 320 by 240 2.4-inch display and a 1000 mAh battery. This makes it great for carrying around and playing on a plane or in a waiting room, but it is really small. You have to bring it really close to your eyes to see what's going on, and to be honest, the buttons feel mushy, especially this D-pad here. Enter the new PocketGo. This new version of the console features a larger 3.5-inch display and upgraded internals, allowing it to emulate more consoles than ever and play more demanding games. On paper, this console looks good, really good. In fact, it looks too good, so much so that the PocketGo 2 has been out of stock forever. I've been holding off on buying something else, waiting for this to come back in stock, but it never has. Luckily, not all hope is lost. These retro consoles are typically manufactured as OEM devices, meaning a company can order a run of these consoles, slap their branding on it, and call it a day. And the PocketGo 2 is no different. Enter the PlayGo console. This guy is identical to the PocketGo 2, but of course with different branding. You can buy it from eBay, Alibaba, or AliExpress for around $50, and depending on the seller may even come with built-in games, although the legality of that latter part is questionable. The PlayGo console features a 3.5-inch 320 by 240 tempered glass display, a dual-core 64-bit 1 GHz processor, 512 MB of DDR2 memory, and a 2000 mAh built-in battery. The console has dual micro SD card slots, one pre-installed with a 16 GB SD card containing the system firmware, and it can also contain games, and the other for you to add your own games. Besides retro game emulation, you can also use it to play back audio in several formats, record audio, play back videos in several formats, and also read ebooks. The console is available in several colors, most notably white, black, and a newer color, which is this red here. And as you can see, this is the console itself. I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. There we go. And that is the PlayGo console. Now, before getting to that, let's see what else is in the box. So as you can see here, we have a charging cable. This one uses USB-C. My current PocketGo uses micro USB, so it's nice to see that they've moved on to USB-C here. And then you also get this USB micro SD card adapter. So this comes in handy, so you can put your micro SD card in here, connect it to your computer, and get games transferred onto the device. And also, you can change the colors of the A, B, X, Y button. As you can see, by default, they are this black, at least on my version, but you can replace them with some more classic red, green, blue, and yellow buttons, which come basically with the device itself. I'm actually gonna leave the defaults on for now, and let's see the console itself. So obviously the first thing I'll notice here is that the console is bigger. I'll put my previous console here, right next to it. And as you can see, there is a considerable size difference. In width, they are very similar, but when it comes to height, as you can see here, there is quite a difference there. However, the biggest difference which I can see and which I look forward to trying immediately is the bigger screen. As you can see, this is 2.4-inch and this is 3.5-inch, which doesn't sound much bigger, but when you actually see them side by side, you can see that there is quite a huge difference between the two. Also on the new PlayGo console, you can see that there is a joystick here, a 360-degree rocker, which was missing from the previous device. Now, looking at the joystick itself, it's basically this. I mean, it is what it is. This is, after all, a cheap console. It will be functional and will be really helpful for those games on consoles where you have a joystick by default. That was one of the limitations with the previous console, that, you know, certain games expect a joystick which the other one didn't have. So at least this one has it. It's not a particularly good feeling one, but at least it's there. There's a D-pad here, which feels pretty much the same as the previous version. I mean, it will do the job. At least it is very clear when you are pressing one of the directional buttons. Not the greatest feeling D-pad ever, but it will do the job. Then we have a typical ABXY layout. These buttons feel good, actually. And we have 3 buttons here. This is the start button, the select button, and then there's this unlabeled button here. Now, on previous versions of this device itself, including the PocketGo 2 one, this was labeled menu. But apparently this is the latest revision of the hardware, and the menu button does nothing, since it apparently wasn't used that much anyway. Okay, I'll guess I'll have to find out whether that's the case. On the bottom are 2 SD card slots labeled TF1 and TF2. This one comes pre-installed with a 16GB SD card containing the system firmware and software, as well as, depending on your seller, some games. And here is where I've put my own SD card with some game ROMs from cartridges and discs that I have, that I actually have. And this is here a reset button, which you can hold down to kind of reset the thing back to factory defaults. On the top hand side, you can see here there are the left shoulder buttons. As you can see, these don't really click down that much, but again, it's nice to see them here, and they are in a comfortable spot. And there are another 2 buttons here and here. So these basically simulate L1, R1, L2 and R2 for something like a PlayStation controller, for example. This is the power button. This is the USB-C charging slot. This is where you can put in headphones. It's a headphone jack. And this is volume down and volume up. And on the sides of the devices, you can see there's pretty much nothing. Now, nice thing about this one also is that the battery is removable. You can simply replace that battery there. So if your battery starts losing charge or dying out over time, it is absolutely trivial to just find a replacement for this thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the thing powered on. I'll just hold down this button here. And as you can see, it displays powered by Open Dingux. Dingux? Dingux? Okay. Basically, Open Dingux is a Linux distribution specifically made for these types of devices. You're not stuck with it though. You can install different firmware, such as the Rogue fork of Open Dingux, which is focused on improving the user experience. I might actually make a video about that in the future. Okay, so I've zoomed in on the device so you can kind of see what's included. So as you can see, we're taking to this application menu, and there's stuff like a clock, a file manager, some sort of explorer here. And again, I can navigate these with the D-pad. So let's see exactly what we get. So this is used to launch an application. There's a terminal. There's a media player here. Actually several media players for both audio and video. This is an image viewer, some sort of hardware test system, input test software, again another music player, and something in Chinese here, the GMU music player and the file management tool. Okay, so yes, these two are in Chinese, but at least the description is in English, so I can easily tell what it is. You can then swap between these items here using the shoulder buttons. So here you get a list of the emulators. Now I haven't customized this at all, I've just unboxed it, so you can see what comes here by default. So we have MAME for arcade games, DOSBox for DOS games. This is another arcade machine simulator. This is for the NES or Famicom. We have OpenBore, Genesis. This is the Game Boy emulator. This is the Game Boy Color emulator. WonderSwan, well that's a new one for me, but okay. This is the PSX for all. This actually emulates PlayStation 1 games. The Mega Drive or Genesis emulator here. Super Nintendo, of course. This is the Neo Geo emulator. PC Engine, Game Boy Advance, Neo Geo Pocket, and then another arcade machine emulator. So those are the emulators which are installed by default. You can add more emulators. There are several websites where you can download emulators for this particular architecture to get your machine to do more stuff. And then if we switch here to games, these are actually games which are installed on the device itself, meaning they're native to the device, okay? So these are not emulated. So you can also do that. I mean, if you have, I guess, Linux, ARM games, I guess, you can install them here and play them, and there are a few games here. Now again, what games you actually get here depends a lot on your seller. Mine seems to be relatively legit. For example, this here, I'm sure you've spotted the Quake logo. Okay, this is actually the shareware version of that, so that's okay for it to be here. There are some other things which I'd have to check the license out. But again, I mean, if you don't want to break the law, you can always, just remove this software. It's very easy to do. And there's even FreeDoom in here. Interesting. Okay, so going back here, settings. Obviously, there's some about network settings. Now, network settings is for remote access. It doesn't actually have Wi-Fi, this thing. Power off, system information, a sound mixer, some customization for the skin, as well as the wallpaper and a built-in user manual, which would be interesting to see what that is. Oh, it's just a wall of text. Okay, well, better than nothing, I guess. And here we get back to the application. So that's basically what's pre-installed. And again, you can customize the look of this. You can add emulators. You can change the firmware to something else like Rogue, which seems to be a really popular choice. But that's what comes out of the box. Getting games onto the device is easy. Here you can see I'm formatting the device using a FAT32 partition type. It's important that you use that one. And then once you've formatted it, as I'm showing you here, you can just copy your game ROMs onto the SD card. Okay, so now I've got the thing in my hands. Let's go ahead and play some games. So I've inserted my SD card into the device. Now you can, of course, copy your games onto the other SD card. Okay, but I found that that's not really necessary, since most emulators allow you to browse the contents of your secondary SD card and play games straight off that. So, I don't see why that's needed. So I'm going to start with MAME here and work my way through. And as you can see, there's a list of games here, which I've added. Now I'm just going to pick something. I'm not really that much into super retro arcade. Well, that got really intense. So by the way, to exit a game quickly, you can press the power and start buttons together and that will just get you out of editing. So that was MAME. I'm going to try out DOSBox. So I'm going to try to show you how that works. So basically, as you can see here, the seller has put in some shareware here for the DOSBox emulator. But I want to use one of the games I installed. So basically, I can go here to the media folder. And as you can see here, there is this folder untitled. Now that is actually the name of my SD card. So if I go there, you can see that there are the games that I've played. And here there's DOS. And as you can see, there is Prince of Persia here, which is one of the games I want to try. Okay, and that seems to be working fine. I remember playing this game a lot. And also remember that's how most of my games would actually end. Okay, so let's try something else from DOS here. This seems to be running horribly. Well, the joystick is not working, and the frame rate, I mean, this is basically a slideshow, not a game. And this is kind of weird, because this console is, you know, supposed to be better than this. I suspect this is something to do with the DOSBox configuration. So yeah, I mean, this is totally unplayable. I'm just gonna quit out of here. Now, what is pretty weird is that you saw how slow Quake was, but if I actually play Quake 2, which is meant to be more demanding, I'll just show you the difference. As you can see, this is playing much better. So I'm not really sure what's up. I think maybe DOSBox needs to be better configured. Yeah, but as you can see, this is working just fine. Okay, so let's move on to the Game Boy Color. Okay, so now some PlayStation 1 games. These are perhaps some of the more demanding ones.
Three, two, one, go! Round two, fight! Huh?
So, that's the PlayGo console. It's a capable little device with a very low price tag, and I'm surprised by the variety of emulators supported and how well most of the games run, including 3D and PS1 games, as well as games like Quake 2. Now, surprisingly, DOSBox 3D games like Quake and Duke Nukem are very slow, but since Quake 2 runs at a decent speed, I bet that with some time spent optimizing settings, I could get Quake and other games running decently using DOSBox. So you'll want to play around with emulator settings to get better performance and configure the controls as you like them. Now, with a device like the PlayGo, as usual, you should only use ROMs for games you actually own. Unless they're Nintendo games, in which case, watch out because they don't even want you to think about games on a non-Nintendo console. The PlayGo console really does bring back childhood memories, and with a nice screen, decent controls, and good battery life, you should have hours of retro fun. I hope you've enjoyed this look at retro gaming, and if you have, why not give this video a like and Tech Guru a subscribe? I surely appreciate it, and it really helps the channel a lot. And if you're a superstar like my first two Patreons, Daniel Pisani and Mr. Tentacle, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Your financial support helps me buy the stuff I review in this channel, as well as upgrade the equipment I use to make these videos. I would really like to thank my two existing Patreon supporters. This is for you. Knowing that people find my content enough to support financially, it literally, as cheesy as it is, fills my heart with joy. I am really overjoyed by it. Oh, and also remember, I'm on Odyssey if you want to watch me outside of YouTube. Well, that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching.